welcome everyone to day 2 of the Designer Academy. I am Abby. I'm on the product marketing team here at Houzz. So I get the opportunity to work very closely with our design community and also our engineers to translate what things you guys need in your software into real things via our engineers. Really exciting work. So I spent a lot of time with designers hearing their feedback about what's working, what's not working, what we can improve upon, etc. I'm going to pass it over to Jasmine to introduce herself as well. Jasmine.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine. I am an expert on the product specialist, support specialist team. So if you've ever chatted in or had a scheduled call, more than likely we've talked. Like I mentioned, I'm based in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm one of our East Coast reps, and I've been with Houzz for almost 4 years. We're coming up on 4 years.
Oh, that's awesome. Great. Well, we will dive right into day 2. So today we are covering proposals, how you can streamline your operations, and covering many other features that kind of fit into those buckets. So we're going to take a look at our contracts, our proposals, online payments, QuickBooks Online, time and expenses, and our lead functionality via our CRM. And so the goal is to kind of show you guys how what you learned yesterday translates into proposals, and then also just how to organize and streamline your overall business operations. So I will let you take it from here, Jasmine. And like I mentioned earlier, if anyone has comments or questions, feel free to pop those in the chat. I'll be manning the chat. I'll answer any questions that I can offhand. And then I'll also ask Jasmine to answer and show some on the screen as we go. So we should have a really packed agenda ahead of us, and we're looking forward to it. You can take it from here, Jasmine.
All righty, thank you. Okay, so out of our agenda, first we're going to start with our CRM, which means the Client Relationship Manager. We're going to go over managing your leads and your clients, because typically your project starts with either a lead if they're not ready to move over to a one project, or a project if you've already started working on the job. So there's a couple different places you can navigate this depending on what you're looking for. So on our homepage, our landing page here, you've got your navigation window to the left-hand side. So to get to either your leads or your projects, you'll notice you have your tabs, so leads, and then projects. Now, if you wanted to reference your client list as a whole, because they will be together, so regardless if they're assigned to a lead or a project, you can find them in the same place. And to do that, you'll just go to your company tab and then clients. And then you'll see any of your clients that you've either manually uploaded. You can import a list. And then again, you'll see your clients and your leads. That way you can filter here. So first, we'll start with a lead. You'll click on your leads tab. Alrighty, so in your main leads page, you'll notice you have another rail menu to the left-hand side here. It's separated in your active leads, your inactive leads, and we also have this, which is fairly new, and it's your lead import history if you wanted to reference that as well. So within your active leads, you have different sub-compartments. So all your active leads, new, followed up, connected, etc. They're all separated into those categories. In your inactive leads, you have snooze. So if you have an inquiry that reaches out that may not be ready yet, or they're just waiting to push the job out further, you can snooze it and reference it later. And then last, you have your spam or your archived. So those would be leads that are not a fit or may have come through as spam, and those would be in that folder here. Now, in your main view for your leads, you'll notice you have main view here. You also have a plus sign. That just means you can add a view. So if there's specific columns that you wanted shown, you could create a view there, rename it, have your select columns shown just for that specific view. You have your lead name, which would be the name of the lead or the project. You've got the stage, your client name, of course, the location, if you have any tasks allocated to the lead, the project type, and then we've got our little scroll bar so we can move over. The lead source is how the lead came in. So if you manually created it, if it was a client referral, for those of you that have marketing with us, if you get like a project match lead, that would show up here as well. House phone call, and then direct message, which means the client reached out to you directly. All right, and then farther over, if you have your estimated revenue, profit added to your lead, you'd be able to reference that, when it was created, and then your last activity, which refers to the last correspondence on the lead. So we're going to open up one of our leads. All right, so as I mentioned, the CRM, which is this section, your client relationship manager, this is where you're going to basically manage the lead. So with your rail menu here to left, you've got your different sections. So your notes, your tasks, your floor plans, if you wanted to create a schedule for them, your files and photos, takeoffs, proposals, and then contracts. In the center is going to be your message section. So this is where you'll send them emails, or if you have their phone number, you can choose SMS text, which is very popular as well. And then lastly, to the right-hand row, we have our client details. So if you manually created the lead, you could add the details here. If it was already a client that you had in the system, once you added them, this information would pre-populate. One of the columns that we saw on the main page was the lead stage. So it's just telling you where you're at on the lead as far as like your progress. If you followed up with them, if you've connected, scheduled a meeting, and so on. And you can also add your own stages as well, and that would be reserved for the super admin. You've got your lead owner and lead manager, and then these are just further details for your lead. And then lastly, we have our payment methods here. We have a separate section for payments that we're going to go over, but for leads, it's going to be located in the bottom right hand of your rail, which is this right here. Alrighty, so when you, we can create a lead, just as an example. Again, you can go to the lead page, or you can press your lead button, and you have different options here. Create new lead. If you have a file you want to import, for our custom pros that have Zapier, you can import your leads through Zapier, or you can do through email. So we're just going to do one manually, and we'll do test. Okay, so from here, we've got a fresh lead, and it's going to automatically be listed under default client. So to add an existing lead or client, we're going to go to edit. Now in the client name, if this is a client that you've worked with previously, or if you have them in the system already, their name will populate from the dropdown. You just select it, and all of their information will pre-populate. So once you have your information and you're ready to get started on the document aspect of it, you'll go over here to the side. So creating proposals for leads and projects is very similar. It's more so the stage that the job is in. But once you have everything set up, you don't necessarily have to create proposals in the lead stage. That's completely up to you. But if you know that you're ready to move forward, if the client is ready to go ahead with the job, you can convert the lead to a project. And at that point, you would just press the convert to project button in the bottom left. It's going to move all the information over from your lead to your project. Very seamless, very quick, including any of these features that you've used over here. So if you've created takeoffs, proposals, contracts, etc., it's all going to move over. And then once you're at the project stage, which it will automatically load to the project if you convert it. But if you don't want to start with a lead, if you have a project that you're already working on, or it's already to that stage, at that point, you can go to your projects page through the tab here, and then it will list out all of your projects. So I already have one started. We're going to go to the green revamp. Now, similar to the message section of your lead, you do have one for your project as well. You'll notice up here at the top, you have different buttons that you can reference to get to your messages. You'll hover over the message button, and it takes you to that message section similar to your lead. The other options we have are project details. So these would be all the details related to your project. So your client information, your project codes, estimated revenue, things like that. You'll be located under the gear for your settings. And then right here, you've got notes. This is not client facing. This is intended more so for like your team to communicate back and forth on different things that you need to note during the job. Alrighty. Okay. So once you've got your project started, you would want to move over to your contracts. So a contract, you'll notice it up here under your planning tab. Now, with your contracts, you do have the option to create them for clients, vendors, but also your subcontractors as well. So you can create as many as you need depending on whoever it's going to. So up here, you can search. You've got your different filters for your date created. If you wanted to search all of your contracts, your status or type, all active, archived, status here, and then recipient. So again, you can filter between the client or supplier if you're sending it to a vendor or a subcontractor. All right, so once you get ready to create your contract, you have a couple different options. So you've got from scratch, which means that you're manually building it out. You've got upload. So if you have an outside contract that you've already created and you just want to import it into the system to have it as a record or send that to the client through the system, you can do it that way. Or lastly, we have from template. Now, with the template option, we do have some that you can choose from, but you can also create your own templates, contract templates as well. So I already have one created, and I just did new contract, and I did from template. If you click on it to open, it will load. Okay, so from this is just like a standard default template that we have. You can edit it to your liking depending on your business circumstances or the state that you're in, depending on like laws and things like that. So you'll notice up here in the left, you have your project name. If you hover over it, you get the Rail menu to navigate to other parts of the project. You've got the name here. It'll tell you when it was last saved, similar to your other documents, so your invoices and your proposals. If you wanted to add it, or it would be for a client or sub, once you press the add recipient button, you have these different tabs to choose from. In this case, it's going to be intended for my client, so I'll just leave it on the client information here. Now again, this pulls directly from your client details. So you want to make sure when you're adding your clients, you have as many details as possible. Of course, you can go back to edit those as well, or you can edit them on the project level, just depending on whatever you want to do. We've got our undo and redo functions here. And then these are just your typical edit functions you would find on like any editing software. You can change your text. So like for your agreement for interior design services, you could change like how the heading is. And again, you just got your different editing features here. All right, this is for links. So if you want to hyperlink something on your document, you have that option as well. And then this is fairly new. It's images. Now, we'll note it is intended only for the logo currently. We don't have the option for outside images. As of right now, it's just the logo. So if you wanted to include your logo on the document, you have that option. But when you do send it to them, it will be shown on the email as well. In the top right corner, we've got our actions with a drop down with different actions that you can complete. If you want to duplicate and edit into another project, as mentioned, you can save as template, download as PDF, print, archive, and delete. I would note with deleting, and this applies to anything, whether it's documents, floor plans, mood boards, when you delete it, it's deleted. So I would suggest archiving. That way you can reference it later. But if you know for sure it's something that you don't need, or maybe it was a duplicate or made an error, you can definitely delete that. But if it's something you may want to reference in the future, I would recommend archiving it because you can filter it. We've got our download button, copy as link button. So if you wanted to send the client the link directly, preview, which would show you the preview, so how the client would view it. And then lastly, send. Your status is the status of the document. So right now it's just draft. I haven't sent it just yet. Once I send it or copy the link, it's gonna change over to send. And then again, once they sign, it'll be partially signed or signed if it's only one user signing. All right, so once you get to your edit field, an edit field is anywhere you're able to edit. So again, I used a template for this one, so it's pretty well built out. But you'll notice on some of the information, it may have like parentheses, or it may have like an empty space where I need to fill out the information. So you can click on it to manually update it as you could like on any document, or we have smart text, which is very useful. So smart text, you'll notice it's here, but also if you right click on your mouse or your keypad, you'll get a drop down here where you can reference the smart text. So the smart text is basically going to pull the information from the project and load it for you manually. So you'll take your cursor. So we'll just say that I want to add in my business name. So again, we can use smart text here, or you can right click. And you'll have your different drop-down options here. So to add anything on here, hover over whichever section you're in, and then what you want to add, and it'll automatically plug that in for you. So your client information will populate, your company information, which pulls directly from your profile. If you have any dates that have been allocated, so like to your documents, payment dates, due dates, things like that, that will populate in dates. And then lastly is your docs. So if you have any documents created, invoices or proposals, that will populate in this section. And you can also view the document details as well, as far as like payment date, due date, which would be the due date of the document itself, not necessarily the payment. And then if you have any scheduled payments, you can pull those in as well. So it's very straightforward. It's really intuitive. All of our features are designed to save you time. So by using that smart text feature or using a template, that would cut down on the time you have to manually create one or manually type in the information. So as long as you have your project information input and then your client info, once you use your smart text, it's automatically going to pull that in for you. So you don't have to manually type it, but you do have the option to do that as well. Alrighty, so once you've got this fleshed out and everything's to your liking, you'll notice at the very bottom, you have a signature section. You can add in another signature. So if it's multiple clients that would need to sign it, multiple vendors, multiple subs, whomever you're sending this to, you can add as many signatures as you would like. And when we press preview, we're going to see the client or vendor sub view. So this is exactly how they would see it on their side. You can also copy the link. Again, you can send it through the system. It'll send it via email, or if you want to send it outside of the Houzz Pro system, you can copy the link here. And then once you paste it into another browser, this will be exactly how the client sees it on their side. So again, it's going through all of your sections. They don't have the ability to edit or anything like that. It's purely viewing purposes unless it's a signature. Again, they can click to sign, they can do written or text, and then submit that contract. So once that contract has been submitted, you will get an email notification letting you know, and then it will reflect, I'll show you, it will reflect as signed in your system as well. Okay, so we're going to go back to our contracts page. Since it's been signed, you can see the status has changed, just letting you know. And the recipient will typically be the client. But again, if you change it to vendor or sub, that would show as well. Alrighty, so once you've got past your contract stage and you're ready to start building your proposals and your invoices, there's a couple different ways to navigate that as well, just depending on the stage that you're at. So in a continuation of yesterday, you went over mood boards and selection boards. So that is a way that you are able to create your proposals, but you can also do it from scratch or from a template as well. We also have the AI feature, which is really popular. So within proposals, you can create it from your project as well. You also have in your navigation menu here to the left, if you go to search and then under planning all proposals, you can create one from there as well. Same thing with the contract feature. If you press the button, you have a drop down. So you can choose create with AI. So with the AI feature, it is very intuitive, but you have to be as detailed as possible. So the more details that you provide, the better outcome that you get. With AI, it's not just limited to the Houzz Pro system. It does search the internet for the best results available. So again, if you want to use this feature, just try to be as detailed as possible, include any details pertaining to what that document will be about. So if it's a refurb, if it's you're redoing the floors, if you're doing a demo, try to detail that as much as possible. You can also include the zip code of the project to get more accurate pricing. It's going to give you the average pricing for that area. And measurements would help as well. So anything pertaining to the job, you can include in the Create with AI, and it's going to build the document based off of those details. So the more detailed possible, the better. If not, not a huge deal, but you want to try to get as much information as possible. Then you've got the from scratch option. So that's if we're going to build it manually. You've got upload. So if you have an outside document that you want to import into the system, let's say you had a proposal that you created outside of house, or if it's something that you wanted to import to have for record purposes, even if the client has already signed it or seen it, you could upload that. I would note that it is going to upload as like a photo, so you wouldn't be able to edit it. It's not formatted to the system, so it's more for viewing purposes. So that's one thing that stands out between if you were to do it from scratch or upload. This is uploaded as like an image. And then lastly, you have from template. So again, you can create your own proposal templates. You can save your existing templates, or excuse me, proposals as templates as well. So, also too, you've got your selections board. So once you've built out your selections, half the work really is already done for you, because you can have you can have approvals on there, declines, you have a budget feature on there as well. So very handy if you've already created and built out your selections board. That way, once you convert it over, it's just one less step that you have to do. So we'll do one from scratch first, just to see how to properly build it out. And then we can do one from a selections board that I already have built. So for our from scratch proposal, again, I'm going to press the proposal button, go to from scratch. And it's going to load you to your proposal landing page. So you'll notice that there are sections that are already pre-populated, like your general info, for instance. That's going to populate with your company details, again, pulling from your profile. And then you've got the client details here. The bill to will pull from your project details. So again, if we go to our little menu here, hamburger menu, and then go to our project details, whatever you have input in that section, whether it's the client details or maybe it's a separate address, if it's going to be like a different area that you're working on, that's going to populate in this section automatically. You'll notice you've got this little pencil symbol, so you are able to edit. But I would note that if you edit within this section, so let's say I have Rachel Green associated with a couple different projects. If I update this information here, it's going to update it across the board. So it's not limited just for this document. So that's one key thing that I wanted to point out, because we do get questions about it. So just note, if you edit in this section, it's going to apply to all the documents plus projects or leads that this particular client is associated with. And then under your company details, if there's specific information you may not want shown, like your phone number or your address, all of these different fields here, if you don't want that customer facing, which is totally fine, you have the option. If you hover over hide field, it's going to remove it from the client's view. So it's pretty instant. And then again, to add it back, just click back on your settings and save. Okay.
We have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. Yeah. Do you mind showing the AI proposals? I want to just say something important there real quick. So AI proposals, a lot of times what our designers are doing are converting their selections into proposals. And so these proposals are very custom in nature. And so with that, AI proposals is a very specific use case for designers, right? If you need help estimating the number of hours that the project might take based off of the square footage, there's a great use case for it there. But it's not going to provide you with actual products. And so I think that that's an important thing to call out. But if you'd like to do just a quick example of design hours for a 200 square foot kitchen renovation, something like that, I think that would be a nice example. And Allie also asked about proposal templates, and it's similar, Allie, as well here. We don't have proposal templates since proposals are typically pretty custom and product driven. But if you're looking to have support for creating proposals based off of anticipated hours, you could use this AI since we don't have templates. So just wanted to make that recommendation, but I will let you take it back over, Jasmine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so with the AI feature, you can either do it from within the proposal or you can do it from the proposal page. Since we're already here, we're just going to press the button. So you'll notice you've got a right rail menu here with different options. You would just press, which you've got the little pop up here. but also too, you've got your automate AI button. So if we press this, we're going to get our little edit field. There is a talk to text function as well. So if you don't feel like typing it, you can just talk it out. So in this example, we're going to do design hours. So can't type today. All right, so our rate is 250, and then we're going to do okay, so again, as descriptive as possible to try to pull in that information. So for here, we're just doing design hours, full refurb. Our project area is 37013. Our rate is 250 for design. Again, you want to specify. And we also charge for travel, which is 300. Our, let me see, so design, if you want to include your design hours already, which you can also edit this here as well. So once you've got all of your details added, again, they're generated with AI. We try to be as accurate as possible, but of course that could change just depending on the market and the area that you're in. So we'll press update proposal. Alrighty. So before it pulls the information over, you do get to see it in advance. So if it's something that may not be correct or may need to be altered, you do have the option to deselect it. And we've got this little feedback here. So if you see something not quite right or that we could work on, definitely feel free to let us know. That's how we grow not only this feature, but all of our other features is by direct feedback. So that would definitely help us out. So in this case, we've got all of this correct. If you need to add more details, you can do that here. And again, this is just for the AI. We're going to save it. All right. So from here, we've got our design hours, which I told it we had 4. The unit is automatically hour because we're charging by the hour. Our travel charges, trip. We've got our cost. If you're adding a markup, you can add that here. Now, your unit price is a combination of your cost and your markup. So it's just showing you what the individual price would be with these 2 values added. You've got your taxable column if you do plan on charging tax for it, item and shipping. All right. So yeah, with the AI feature, again, very intuitive, very useful. You want to try to be as descriptive as possible. If you have to go back and add anything, you can definitely do that. Again, just press the button, go through, add your description, or you can manually add it as well. Either or, whatever works best for you. All righty. Okay, so with building this out, if you don't want to use the Automate AI feature, you do have the option to add items from your library, or you can manually add them as well. So if we go over here to our right rail, you notice you have different sections. We have my items. So these would list out all of your products and services that you have in the system, whether they were manually added or you use the clipper tool, which is a very handy function. All of those items will be under my items. You've got brand catalogs that we have, which currently we have Home Depot. We have templates. So again, if you have a template that you already have created that you want to pull over, you can utilize this section. And then recent proposals. So these will list out all of your recent proposals. So if you need to go back and reference any of them, maybe there was a service or an item that you need to like move over to this one, you could easily do that from this section here. And then also adding, you can do it from your add item section here. Now you'll notice when you click on it, you have a drop down. So your most recent used or visited items will be here. And as you type, you'll notice that it will load. If it's something that you don't currently have in the system, you can create it from here. But we also have our create button over here as well. Now, call outs between the two. If you add the item here, it's not going to automatically add it to your library. So if it's something that you want definitely in your library that you use in the future, I'd recognize. I would suggest using this button here, the create button. So we're going to do a test item just to demo it for you guys. So right now, it's giving you the option to create an item or a group. We're going to go over grouping as well. So I'll show you how to group items. But for right now, we're just going to do a single item. All right. So this is pretty straightforward. You just fill out the information. The more information you provide when creating the either service or product, the more information will be pulled over to your document. So you'll see once you choose whichever cost type it is. So for this example, we're going to do product. Do your name. You'll notice down here, you've got another drop down with different information that you can provide. Now, when you clip an item, most of this will automatically be included whenever you're clipping. I think the only thing that isn't is the unit type, but you can set that from your library as well. So for this item, we're just going to name it test. I've got my different categories. Now, these are categories that I have created. You can create them from a document, or you can create them from your items as well, either or. So we're just going to choose accessories. If you have images that you want to add, you can add those manually. Again, if you clip them, it will save the image for you. If you have a vendor or a sub set for this item, so we can say that I have got this item from Amazon, your SKU, description. If you want to use a separate description for purchase orders for your vendors, you can select that. That way you have different, so one client facing, one for your vendor. Product tags would be, which these are some examples I've used previously. So if you're wanting to search for specific items and you want to tag that. So in this example, I had, it was a dinosaur room. So I used the tags lamp, dinosaur, kids room. That way, if I searched it, that product would pop up. Again, you've got your unit type. So in the unit column, what you have set here is what populates on your document. And again, just your details here for the pricing. And then your advanced details, which would be finished color, if you have a link for it, manufacturer. These are all columns that you can have visible on the document, on your client-facing document, if you choose. All right, so when we added our item here, again, any of the information that I input would populate in this section. Now, with your columns, you do have the option to hide or unhide columns. So if you want specific columns shown on your side, so this is the edit view. This is only for your view. This is not intended for the client. You can hide them from here. So if you hover over the little ellipses, you can hide from client, or you've got your customize button. Now, coming over here to these tools right here, you've got create group. So if there's items you want to group together, like a good example would be, here, I'll show you. We'll go to our items. So let's say my client has a chair that they like, but they don't necessarily like how it's upholstered. They want a new fabric. So we would add our chair, which I have a bunch of products. We're going to insert it. And again, it's going to automatically pull that information over. We're going to show, I'm going to click on customize because as of right now, I don't have my description, my images, or my auto number shown. So I want to toggle that on. That way I can see that information. And again, with your other columns here, you can create your own or our pre-populated columns, which would be these. You can hide them or show them, just depending on what you want your specific view to be. Okay, so with this item, I want to add some fabric because again, the client wants to reupholster this chair. So I'll go back to my items. And within my library, I'm going to pick the fabric that they chose or are going to choose. So to group these items, you've got your little check boxes here. So we're going to check those items off. And you'll notice that once you select these, you have another option populating here to delete. But we want to do group. One thing I also want to mention, you've got your undo and redo. If at any point you leave the document, you will no longer be able to undo and redo. So if you accidentally delete something or if you change something incorrectly, you want to make sure you go ahead and do it before leaving the page. Otherwise, once you come back, the current view would be the saved view because it does auto save, as you can see up here in the top left. All right, so to create this group, we're checking our items off and we're doing create group. So you'll notice that you have a group here, and then you've got like two subsections of the group. So in this group, it's just automatically going to be titled new group, but you can rename it. So we're going to do chair number 1, just because this is the first chair option that we have. So put those items together. So even though they're technically two separate items, since they are intended to be together, you can group those together. So you've got your chair, and then you've got your fabric. within the group column or main column here, this will be an accumulation of these two line items. This will be the cost for that group. So you've got your cost for your chair, and then you've got your cost for your fabric. So with this one, it is $1 per, I think, square feet. So if you have your square footage, or if you have your amount, you would just tag that in, and it's going to automatically update for you. You've got also your little, anytime you see this means that it's not client facing, so it's not visible to the client. So if this is something that you do want them to see, just simply press this. Oh, it'll do both of them. Or hide it again, just select it. All right, so once you've got your document built out with either your services, your products, or which here, if you go to my items, again, you've got your full library. So on this particular document, I've got my design hours, I have my travel charges, and then I added some products as well. And then we can build it out a little bit further just to flesh it out some more. Okay, so once you have all your items, you've got all of your information input, your cost, your if you want it taxable or not, meaning that the tax would be charged to the client, you can alter that from this column. You've got your totals here, which are accumulation of your individual line items. And then in the bottom here, you've got your subtotal section. So with the subtotal, it is an accumulation of your total items here. If you have a markup added, so in this instance, I do not, but we can just add one. We're going to do $25. You'll notice that you have your markup section populated. It's going to give you like a breakdown. If you want to add a discount to your document, you can add that as well. So we're going to give them $25 off. Now, this does apply to the entire document as a whole. So if you wanted to discount one specific item, that would be something different. So just to point out that the discount applies to the entire document as a whole. You've got your tax here, where you can choose your existing taxes, or you can create a new tax rate if you need. Your total here would be the total after the fact of your taxes being applied, any discounts, markups, things like that. Which we're going to get to the payment section, but I'll briefly mention this one, your processing fees. So this would be how you want to offset the fees. If you want to absorb them from the payment, which means after the client has paid and you get your deposit, they would be automatically deducted. Or if you want to offset that to the client, meaning that they would pay the document balance plus their transaction fee, so they would pay the $4,600 plus the 1.4% or 3%, however they paid. Or we have this function here, add fee to my overall markup. So one thing to point out within this section is it is going to offset the fee to you. So you are going to absorb the fee from the transaction. However, with this, it's going to add an additional fee to your markup. So you think of it as, yes, I am taking on that fee. However, I'm charging a higher markup to not only cover that fee, but also give me a little cushion and profit off of that as well. So you have that option. So again, you can charge a higher markup to absorb that fee. You can charge it to the client, or if you want to just absorb it as a whole, you can do that as well. So depending on however you want to bill. Okay, and we've got our payment section here. So this is where you're going to set up your payment schedules. So if you want your client to make payments on the document, this will need to be set up. Now, since we're in the proposal stage, whether you charge on this proposal or not is completely up to you. We do have the option to delete these payments. So if you want just the approval, if you don't want the client making any payments just yet, you totally have that option. Or if you want like a 50% deposit or how much ever you want to charge, you can do that as well. So in this case, per my contract, as stated in my contract, I want to collect a 50% deposit upfront. So I can either select the schedule payment button, request deposit, or we've got our request deposit button here. So I'm just going to press this. Alrighty, so you're going to input the amount that you want. So edit field, again, edit field is anywhere that you can edit or change the value. So within your amount section, you can do by a dollar amount, or you can do by a percentage, whichever works for you best. So we're going to do a 50% deposit, which is going to be about $2,400. Got your payment terms, which is going to be custom because I'm going to change the date to, let's say, my contract is due the 31st. So I want my first payment on the first business day after, which would be November 3rd. I'm going to create that. All right, so it's going to create that payment schedule for you. Now you have the option to split it up into as many payments as you would like, or again, if you don't want to collect payment on the proposal, if you'd rather just get the signature and then invoice on the actual invoice, you have that option. And you'll notice as you click the button, it's going to automatically alter those numbers. That way it keeps the correct balance of it, but it's splitting it depending on the payments that you've created. You can also alter it. So if you want this one to be 10%, and you'll see this one changed as well, and you want the other one 40%, you can alter it that way. Again, same thing with your payment terms. You can change it. Due date applies to when that payment is due. It differs from this due date, which I wanted to point this out. This due date refers to when the document should be either signed or agreed to. So let's see, I want this one signed or approved by tomorrow. And then we've got our payment schedule here. If you want to send reminders, you have that option as well. Or if you have this checked off, it's going to automatically send those out. I believe it's it will notify them, of course, when it's late, but also when they have like an upcoming payment, which if you don't want them to get those, you can toggle that off. Similar to above in our edit section, we have undo and redo. We've got save as default and then pay online. This would be useful if you're like paying on behalf of the client, which I don't have online payments set up. So it's going to automatically load to our payment page. So if you have your client's payment details already, which I know is pretty common, you can go ahead and pay on their behalf, or you can go ahead and send that to them for payment. Also included is the log a payment button. So if the client paid you directly, whether it was through like Zelle or Cash App, a check, and you obtain those funds outside this system, you can manually log them for accounting purposes, just so you're telling the system, I already have these funds. And if you're integrated with QuickBooks, which we're going to cover that as well, that will help with your accounting, like moving everything over and keeping all your books straight. That way you know what you have incoming, what you have outgoing, your profit, and things like that. All right, we've got our files section. So if there's anything you need to attach, whether it be receipt, a photo, things like that, you can attach for the client. All right, now with these sections, you've got terms and conditions and your memos. The good thing about these is you, again, with a little symbol, you can hide them, which typically you would have them visible. But you can build them out tailored to this particular project or document, but we also have the template section or option as well. So if you click in these boxes, like your edit field, and go to templates, excuse me, it's going to go to my terms and condition templates, which currently I don't have any created on this account. You can create them, but you can also set company defaults. So if it's a template that you're going to be using more often, or if it's like your standard business template for your terms and conditions, stating like your payment schedule, bi-weekly, however they want to pay, whatever are included in your terms, you'd include here. And again, you can set defaults that would apply to all of your projects across the board. That way, if you set a default, this would automatically be populated. Of course, you can edit it as you need, but for the sake of saving time, because ultimately that's what we want to achieve, you can pull in a template. And the same thing applies to your memos as well. Now, the templates live within a document. So to access them, you can go to any document. It doesn't matter which document it is, whether it's a proposal, an invoice, whatever project it is, doesn't matter. It's going to lead you all to the same section. All right, and then to wrap up this side, we've got signature, which I highly recommend for your proposals. You can toggle that on or off. So we're going to have that visible. So it's automatically going to populate your company signature. And it's got the client signature. And then your activity stream. Your activity stream is going to let you know what's been going on in the document. So if you have like other users or team members on your account and they added a payment schedule, or they're making changes when the document has been sent or viewed or paid, if you have payment schedules, all that will reflect in your activity stream. So it's very handy when you need to reference something. Like if the client said they didn't get the invoice, but you can see that it's viewed, things like that. Alrighty, so once you get to your, once you wrapped up with your proposal stage, next would be sending it to the client, and then most importantly, the payment section, because everybody wants to get paid, right? So once you press the preview button, it's going to load you over to the client's view. So this is exactly how they would see it on their side. So at this point, similar to on the edit view where you can hide and unhide columns depending on what you want visible, this would be intended for the client. So if there's specific information you don't want them to see, like maybe a markup, if you only want them to see the unit cost versus your cost and your markup, you can tailor that to your liking. It's going to be over here, which some of you may still see it on the left-hand side. I think this is going to be the updated view, but it still functions the same. Again, like if you click on it, you'll notice the information changes just depending on what you are showing or what you want visible. So in this case, I just want my client to see the items that are on the document. They can see the quantity, that's fine, unit. But let's say I want to hide our cost and our markup. So I'm just going to click those. It'll automatically deselect, and the rest are fine. In our total section, same thing applies here. If you want just your subtotal shown, your total shown, payment totals, you know, however you want it viewed for the client, you can alter that here. Now, this is for your payments. So if you want a pay now or a QR code, you can toggle that on or off. And then lastly, your approval. So again, I definitely recommend utilizing the electronic signature. That way you've got the approval from the client. Of course, if you have approval, whether it's written outside the system or verbal, you can approve on their behalf. But if you want to make sure you get that written permission or that signature, I definitely recommend to use the electronic signature. And then you've got your approved per line item. In this case, let's see. In this case, I'm going to turn it off. That way, once they approve the document, they would be approving the document as a whole. Now, if it's like a this or that situation where they need to approve one couch over the other or one item over the other, in that case, you can turn on the approved per line item. But in this situation, I would want my client to approve the entire document because it's kind of like a non-negotiable. Like I have my design hours, I have my services, but then I also have these items here. Again, you can change it or tailor it to how you do your business. Alrighty, and then the payment side. So once you're ready to send for payment, if you've got your payment schedule set up, so here we've got our payment schedules. You can either send it to your client via email, and you'll also get a CC copy you can choose if you want, like for records or whatever. Then we've got our download as PDF button. So if you want to, again, save like a hard copy, we have the comment feature, which is fairly new. And then we have our copy link. So similar to our contract, we can copy the link. We're going to open it in a separate window. So this is exactly how the client would see on their side. So again, you've got all the information shown that you wanted shown. We've got our grouped items so they can see what's included in that group. We've got all of our client details whenever we either manually saved it or used the clipper, our pricing, and then we've got our payment schedules. Alrighty, so now is the payment side. So that you have payment settings, a couple different places you can reference them. You've got your project payment settings, you have your global payment settings, but then you also has your document payment settings. So it can sound a little bit confusing, but it just depends on ultimately what you're going for as far as billing. So for this document or in my project, I have credit or debit card payments available. Also have bank transfer payments, so they can toggle between the two, just depending on how I want them to pay. And then lastly, at the very bottom, we do have financing options. So with the financing options, it does depend on the client's eligibility. So if you have any questions on that, or if you just wanted to get more information, what I would suggest is going to our handy little symbol right here, the question mark, and then you can go to the help center. And we have helpful resources on those. We don't handle the loan side. It is handled by either Intuit or Green Sky. Oh, sorry. Did you have a question?
Yes, we have quite a few questions. So if you wouldn't mind, if you can just set the context of what you're looking at right now, and then how to get to the preview screen, and then also how to get to the customize what my client can see. Because I think that has changed recently a little bit. And so there's a couple of questions about where they can see that and where they can preview.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So This is the edit view. So again, this is only intended for the professional side where you edit the document. To get to your client's preview, you'll press your preview button up here in the top right-hand corner. So yes, to your point, I think they are updating it. So some of you might see it still over here on the left-hand side where it says customize what your client can see with the drop-down. But I think we're moving to this view right here, which mine was not like this yesterday. I think they're updating as they go, but essentially it has the same function. It's just a matter of like how it's formatted now. So once you press preview to get to the client's preview, and you'll know you're on preview because it'll say preview at the top, but also too, there's not really any editing functions because it's only intended for like how the client's going to see it. And we have drop downs here, which it should automatically be expanded, but if not, you'll just click on them to open the drop downs. All right, so from here is where you can enable or disable those column views. So as we click on them, so if I might not want the description shown, let me scroll down a bit so you can see, I can toggle that on and off. Same applies to our images, our type. So yeah, here within the preview page is where you can customize what your client can see. Now on the edit view, there is a little way to do it, but it's not going to be as fleshed out as the preview. So like I mentioned prior, if you hover over your column and go to the ellipses, you can do it from here, but I think it may be easier to do it from the preview side. So again, we press preview, and to our right rail menu here is where we're going to choose what we want shown. And then again, you can send it, or if you want to view exactly how the client's going to view it, you could of course send it to yourself, or press the copy link button, which is going to automatically copy the link to the document for you. And then once you pull it over into a new window, there you go. This is going to be exactly how the client sees it on their side. So you've got, again, all of your proposal details, approve and sign, and then your payment options here. If I need to elaborate any more, please let me know.
Yeah, that's great. And so if you don't see those preview settings on that right-hand side on your proposal previews yet, we typically roll things out gradually to make sure that things are super safe when we roll it out and doesn't cause any issues. And that rollout started just a couple weeks ago. So if you don't see it yet, you will probably see it in the next couple of weeks on your proposal previews. We have a couple of other questions that I want to tap on. So Sophia asked about processing fees. So Sophia, whichever provider you choose to run your payments through, that's the one you're paying your fee to. So if you use QuickBooks for your payments, you're paying QuickBooks the fee. If you're using Houzz for your payments, you're paying Houzz a fee for the processing, right? It's just like if you're checking out somewhere or paying a service provider and they charge a credit card fee, right? Same concept, but it's wherever the point of sale is happening. So no, there's not going to be an additional fee for you to use QuickBooks in the integration. Let's see. We have a couple of other questions. Let's see. For upcoming payments, will an email automatically send, or do we need to send out an email requesting their second payment?
Yes, they will automatically be notified if they have an upcoming payment. So yeah, that would automatically be sent out. But again, if you want to send a payment reminder, you do have the option, but the system will automatically do that for you. So as long as you have your due dates selected. If you have your due dates, it's telling the system, hey, I need 2,400 on this date. So yeah, it's going to automatically send it out for you. And again, you can toggle those off if you don't want the client to get them. But yeah, you don't have to manually send those out. The system will do that for you.
Awesome. And then Angie asked for that preview of the proposal. When you customize it and adjust it, does it save? And is that basically the preset for future jobs? And the answer is yes. When you set and adjust what the customization is, it's going to be saved and used for your future documents as well.
Yes. Yeah. Good call out. That so you won't have to do this every single time. So just note that whatever you alter on this document, it will set those settings up for future documents. So if you have like one client who you may not want to see as much as client John Smith, and you alter that one proposal, it will set the preference for your next ones. So yeah, you don't have to do it every single time. It'll automatically save for you. So once I create another proposal, whether it be from scratch, AI, whatever, it's going to have my preferences already, excuse me, it's going to have my preferences already marked. So you don't have to do it every single time.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that we've covered all the questions so far, so we are good to keep going.
All right, perfect. Okay, so kind of continuing on the payment side, again, you can collect payment outside the system. That is totally fine. I know there are some professionals that bill in QuickBooks and then manually log to the system, or you can use our online payments. So if you don't want to have to hassle with, again, like payment reminders, tracking down the client for your payments, handling checks, handling like hard money, things like that, I would definitely recommend using the online payment feature. Okay, so from like I mentioned, there's a couple different sections that you can reference it. So the main payment section that you want to look at is going to be for your online payments. So if we go over here to our financials navigation menu and we go to online payments, which mine is not set up. There you go. So from here, if you have your bank account, well, it is, but it isn't. It's going to list out all those details. So from my payment methods here, and these are the global settings that would apply to every project unless you change the project specifically, and we can get into that. So from my payment methods, I'm allowing credit or debit, bank transfers, and then we have our financing options here. So if you do want those shown on your document, make sure you have those selected. If you don't, you can toggle those off and they will be moved as options. Same applies to credit or debit. So again, this is going to apply to all of your projects. Again, your bank details. Now your processing fees, similar to what we referenced on the document, these are the global settings for your processing fees. So it's going to apply to all of your projects. So if you want just a typical, the client pays the processing fee, you can do that. Again, you can deduct the fee, or you can have the overall markup, the fee added to your markup.
Could you show a little bit about wiring money? So like an ACH transfer, like how does that process work? Susie said that they typically add their wire information into the memo of the invoice, but they're curious to understand how the Houzz bank transfer works.
Yeah, so when and we can go back to our document, when they choose bank transfer and press continue, it's going to load into a separate section. So our payment processor is Stripe, so the payments are processed through Stripe. So it's going to open up a separate window where the client can input their banking details. And then what would happen after that is when the client submits the payment, it goes from client to Stripe to you. So you wouldn't necessarily have to input because it is pretty sensitive information. You don't necessarily have to list it in your memo details. That would be if you want the payment to go from the client to you versus it being paid through us. So you can leave the ACH function on. Again, just make sure it's toggled on in your settings or your project settings. And at that point, when the client chooses bank transfer, it's going to take them through a separate link or window to input their details, and then it will be sent over. So if you want them to pay through the Houzz Pro software, I would recommend doing it this way. But again, if you want them to pay you directly, so you get the funds outside the system and then manually log them, which in that case, we'll go back to our document. You can manually log it. So let's say I sent it to my client and they paid me a partial payment outside of the system. So I'm going to open up my document, which this is a common question that we have. So let's say that their first payment is $2,400, but they paid me $3,000 of it. So what you can do is you can either schedule a new payment for that amount, or you can click on your existing payment. We're going to choose a fixed amount. We're going to do $3,000, and you'll see it's going to automatically calculate the other payments just to keep everything in line. And then we'll press our log a payment button. And again, if you want to if you want to manually send a reminder, you can do it here. You'll send them an email, and then you've got log a payment. So from here is when you're going to manually log a payment, but it's also used for retainers and credits, which we're going to get to retainers. So from the drop down, you'll just choose however they paid. If you have a credit or retainer, you would see that populate as an option, which I don't have one in this project just yet, but we'll do bank transfer. So after that, the amount is automatically included. You have the option to send a receipt, which you can do it from this menu here. You've got your date, of course, and then a reference number, and we'll just press done. Pretty simple. So after that, you can see that you have a $3,000 payment. It is going to show unapplied until you move it over to an invoice. So if you decide to progressively invoice, meaning that you add, let's say I only want to invoice specific items at a specific time, you could do it that way, or you can convert the entire document over, just depending on how you want to split. But once you convert your proposal over, your funds are going to move from unapplied to applied, and it will show you where the funds have been applied as well. So again, if you have multiple invoices, you'll be able to easily track what funds have been allocated to what document. All right, and then, okay, so outside of our global online payment settings, you have your project settings as well. So if you have a client who has a different billing system than another client, but you don't necessarily want to change your global settings that would apply to the entire company as a whole, you can alter the project settings. So at that point, you'll go to your little hamburger menu, go to your project details, your settings gear. There we go. And then you've got your different tabs here. So you'll click on payment details. So again, your online payment is the global settings that apply. So think of it as an umbrella. Your online payment, your global settings is going to be the entire umbrella to cover all of your projects. Your project payment settings is only going to apply to this specific project. So let's say for this one, Ross, I only want her to pay credit or debit card. And you'll see here, it's going to give you a little indicator that this is not enabled. So if the client gets the document, they're not going to see the bank transfer option. And then again, with the fee settings. So let's say I want this client to, I just want to deduct the fee from my payments. So you would make sure everything's enabled. Again, it's gonna tell you that it's different from your overall or your global default settings. And then we're going to save. It'll ask you to confirm. And then you can see a handy little indicator here or a timestamp the last time you've changed it, which is very helpful. And then lastly, you have your document payment settings. So similar to what I mentioned earlier. So we're just going to go back to, which I'll give you an example of both. Since this one's already paid, you'll notice that the processing fee section is not editable, because at that point you've already collected payment on this document. So we can't have payment A where you took the fee and payment B where you didn't. It has to be uniform across the entire document. Whereas on our other proposal, which is still in the sent status, so it hasn't been paid just yet, you'll notice that this, you can change it. So again, global settings is for all of your projects. Project settings would apply to specifically to that one project. And then you've got your document settings. So if this document's different from the others in the project and you want to add a fee to it, or if you want to charge the client the processing fee, you can toggle that on here. And then just for the sake of an example, we'll show you once you have a logged payment, this is no longer editable. There we go. Now with having the payments through the Houzz Pro software, there are transaction fees. So as it states here, and then your settings, you can either absorb the fee. So depending on how they paid, which it'll show you in your payment settings, there are different transaction fees for the payments. For credit and debit, it's 3%. And then bank transfer is 0.6 or 1%. So depending on how you have it toggled and depending on how the client wants to pay, that is the fee that they would see. So again, you just want to make sure that you have your payment details set on your project, of course, in your online payments for the entire company, but you can also alter it per document as well if you have like a different billing system for one document over the other. All right, so that's online payments. We also have retainers. So a retainer is used for, so let's say your client gives you like an X amount of funds at the beginning of the project, and it's up to you to delegate those funds out into the documents. So what you would do, you would go to your, it's under your finance section, go to retainers and credits. So here would be any of the retainers that you've created, any credits that you've created from documents, and then as well as any refunds. One thing to note about the refunds is this is purely for accounting purposes. So if you do refund something, we do not automatically notify the client, nor do we manually send those funds out for you. Excuse me. This is just for accounting. So especially if you're connected or integrated with QuickBooks, which I would highly recommend. It's all going to do that accounting for you just to tell the system, hey, we've given X amount of funds back to this client. So with the retainer, you've got your new retainer button. You don't have to use retainers. Again, completely up to you. I recommend them that way, especially if you don't have your documents built out just yet and the client's ready to like give you a payment. So let's say Rachel was ready to give me $50,000 towards her project, and it's my due diligence to split it up as they go. So we're going to, you've got your unit, you've got your cost, which typically you can just leave that as is. So for this example, we're going to do $5,000. So I'm requesting a $5,000 retainer from my client. So similar to your payment sections on your proposal or your invoice, you can split that up to how muchever you need. And then again, you've got your log a payment button here. So let's say the client manually paid me for this. You can also do online payments as well, which I don't know why it's popping up like that. So we're just going to say that this client paid me $5,000 of the retainer via check. So we'll choose again our log a payment button with a check. We can fill out any of the relevant details here. And if I want to send them a receipt, I can do that automatically. But I can also do it from here as well. Oh, maybe it would have helped if I put an amount. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. All right, so I'm logging my $5,000. Sorry, I think I'm moving too fast. Okay, well, that is not working like it should. So we're just going to pretend we have a retainer. So when in your retainers and credit section, yeah, we're just going to pretend that it's paid so we can move along. So it's going to show you the status, whether you've sent it, it's been paid. It's going to show you the amount, and then it's going to show you what you have available. So once you have this paid, whether it's through online payments or manually logged, we'll go back to our document. You can log them to proposals or invoices, whatever stage you're in your billing. Go back to your payment section, log a payment. And again, from this drop down, you're going to see retainer or credit. It'll tell you how much availability you have, but also within the retainers and credits section, it will show you where those funds have been allocated. So it's easy for you to keep track of where you've applied the fund, excuse me. That way you know. And then again, if you were to go back to your proposal section, you can see what you have like incoming or what needs to be paid. So you've got your total, your payments due here, and then you've got your breakdown of your proposals over here on the side. Alrighty. Okay, so that was the financial side. So we went over payments, we went over retainers, tracking your payments. You can do that from your, again, from this section here, but we also have our reports as well. So if you go to your financials in your navigation menu to the left, we're going to go financials and then reports. Now, we'll note if you don't use the Help Center, I would definitely recommend it. We have so many different tutorials, articles, webinars, they can all be referenced. We do have one specifically on reports. So for, let's say I want to look at the incoming transactions for that project and what I have incoming. You would go to the transactions incoming. You can filter it by project. You've got your different filters here, which is automatically going to list out all of them. But if I want to look at one specific, so we're going to look at the green revamp, generate. It's going to show you, again, like your total, your balance, what you have upcoming, what's been paid, etc. And then once your payments have been made, we also have a payment report and also the payouts report. That way you can further track those as well. All right, let's see. Okay, before we move on, does anybody have any questions on that or payments or need further clarification?
Nope, I think that you're good. I think is the only thing left time and expense.
Yes, ma'am. So we've got, well, time and expense and QuickBooks. So with time and expense, we'll do time and expense first, and then we'll do QuickBooks to end it out. So with time and expense, there's a couple different ways that you can reference it. You've got your search icon up here. You can go time and expense, which this is going to be for all of your projects across the board, which you can, of course, filter them. But if I want to do time and expense specifically for one project, you can do it from that project as well. So we're going to go back into Rachel Green's project, and under your management section, you'll see time and expenses. So time and expenses is helpful when because you can add services to a proposal like manually through your library. But if it's something that depends on like time accumulated, like if it's something you're charging for time, travel time, design fees, things like that, you can create time for it. Now, the good thing about it is you can manually add these. You can import a list. But we also have, again, in the bottom of your navigation menu to the left-hand side, we have our clock in feature. This can be utilized by team members, both on desktop and on the app as well, which is very helpful, especially if you're like on the road, out in the field, and you don't have access to a computer. They can start that little time clock. Once they're done, they can finish it out, and then it will automatically load into that specific or associated project that they've set the time for. So in my time and expenses for this project, you'll see the duration. So how many hours that you've calculated so far, what's billable, and we'll go over that, how much has been invoiced, and then what's non-billable. So first call outs between billable and non-billable when you're creating, and you can see it here in the column, when you're creating your entry, and we'll do one for an example, you can set whether it's billable or non-billable. So the biggest difference between the two, billable would be, this is something I'm charging the client for. So a design fee, a travel fee. Non-billable would mean this is something that I need to account for in time, but I'm not necessarily going to charge the client for it. So in my two examples, I have a travel time that I counted as not billable because I don't necessarily want to charge the client for me having to travel to their location. But then in my designer rate time, this is set as billable because this is something that I want to charge the client for. So we'll do an example. And again, your total billable here and then non-billable. That way you can keep track. Now, if I were to add these two entries to an invoice, the cost would reflect in those cost sections if it's billable. So to do that, you can either select one item and create your invoice. You can do it from scratch or to an existing invoice. Or if I want to add both of them, I would check both of them off. Now, when it comes to your services, you've got your managed services up here in the top right-hand corner. Here is where you're going to create your services for the company or yourself or your team members. So you can toggle between your team members, or which this will show up as your company name. So right now I'm under my company, and these are all of my services. So from here, you can edit them. If there's an image that you want associated, you can have the image, description, if it's going to be taxable, billable, and so on. And then, of course, your service name here. And then under your actions, you can import those time entries or you can export them. So I have seen some of our pros use this for like payroll. So in one of those instances, you would do export time entries. That way you can export it and then go about your business with however you want to pay your employees. And then, of course, new entry to create a new one. So we're going to do just a test one. So I'm logging this time. So the reported by is who's reporting this time. So I'm going to say that the team member, so myself, my team member is reporting this time. So after you choose the reported by, you've got your services. Now, if you have a service that you don't have so far, you can just type that in. It's going to automatically create it. We're going to set our rate. So my rate is $20 an hour. I don't want this taxable, but I do want it billable. I've set my date and then the amount of time that I worked on whatever service. Got that. Just a description and then files. One thing to note is if you add these entries to a document, the files do not move over. This is purely intended for like your viewing purposes. So if it is something that you do want the client to see, I would recommend adding the file directly to the invoice or proposal, or in this case, invoice, since it's time and expense. Otherwise, this is just for your viewing purposes. And then we'll save. And you'll see that all of our analytics up here have updated. Our duration has changed. Our total billable has changed. This one has not because my entry was billable. So it's going towards what I'm charging the client. So once I'm ready to add these to an invoice, again, you can check them off. So let's say I want these on the same invoice, but I want to leave this one as is. We can check them off, create invoice, and then go to create from scratch. So we're just going to do, actually here, we'll show you both of them. So on this one, we've got a non-billable and we have a billable. So I want this entry to reflect on the invoice just for the client's viewing purposes, but I'm not going to charge them for it. So we'll press create invoice. All right, and you'll see your category is automatically time billing. It's going to pull over any of that information from where you created your entry. You've got your quantity, your cost. Now, since this specific item was set as non-billable, meaning I'm not charging it to the client, there's not going to be a cost here. The cost is still going to be associated in your time and expense section. It's just not going to reflect on your invoice since I'm not charging that to them. So same with your proposals. If you need to request payment, you can do that. You can send it out, or you can copy the link to send it outside of the system. Also included in time and expense are your expenses. So your expenses would be outgoing expenses or outgoing purchases. When you look at your transactions, like your reports, you have an incoming transaction and you have an outgoing transaction. So your invoices and your proposals would be your incoming transactions because that's what you're getting from the client. So you're taking those funds. Whereas an expense is typically something that you have to dish out. So that would be money that you have going out, similar to like a purchase order. Those are intended for the vendor. So that's outgoing money that you're spending. And then invoice and proposal would be money that you're getting in from your client. So referencing your expenses is within the same section. You go to time expenses, but you'll notice you have a tab up here at the top. So we're going to switch over. So within my expense examples, I have a damage expense. So let's say something was damaged by myself or the team, and I want to account for that, but I don't want to charge it to the client. So I added my damage service, I added in the applicable details, so my quantity, my cost, but I said it is not billable because that is something that I'm not going to charge the client for, since essentially it's a mess up on our end. And then we've got this expense, which you can see that I've already added to an invoice. So it'll show you that it's been invoiced. It's got a file that I attached. So like if you had a receipt or something that you wanted to add to your expense, you could add that. And it's going to show you that I have a file, which I think this is just blank for example purposes. So same thing with your expenses. If you want to add them to a document or an invoice, select it here. You can choose from scratch or an existing. So if I want to add it to my existing invoice where I had my time entries, you just click it off, go to continue, and it's going to automatically move that information over. So there you go. I have my expense, and then I have my time billing entries from earlier. Now, you'll notice on my other expense entry, the checkbox, which on this one now, it's not going to let you select it because it's already been allocated to a document. So if you needed to add it to a separate document, you would have to delete it from that invoice, and it would essentially change the status here. But anytime you see that, which will tell you where it's been sent, but you can also click over here as well.
Jasmine, one question for you before we move on to QuickBooks. So if I have a deposit on an invoice and I need to edit it, like I need to add something or I need to remove something, is there a way to reopen the document? And can you show that process?
Yeah. So it depends on what document it's on. So let's say we've got one of our proposals. So we'll just do this one because it hasn't moved pages yet. So my client has approved everything. They've given us their signature. They're ready to go with the billing. And I don't necessarily want to charge them on the proposal, so I'll do it on the invoice. So after, which you'll notice, since it's approved, I can't make any further edits. So I can't like click on these and edit because it's already been approved. In that situation, you would have to go to actions and then reopen for editing. Now, the thing about reopening for editing is it's going to basically, number one, it's going to remove all of your approvals. So if you have approvals, whether it's for the entire document, if it's for individual line items, it's going to basically reset it, which includes a signature. Now, this is important because if if you're changing anything, you want the client to be able to approve it. That way, if they come back and say, well, I didn't order this, or this isn't correct, you have their approval. So there's two ways you could approach it. You could, so let's say they approved the proposal and we've moved over to the invoice, but they want to make some changes. So you can either make the changes to the invoice, but with doing that, your documents are still going to be connected, but they wouldn't necessarily match because you're making the changes on the invoice, which of course you could notate that like in the memo section or the description of that item. But if you edit it here and not on the proposal, they're not going to match, which isn't necessarily a big deal if that's how you want to operate. But if you want them to be singular or like straightforward, what I would recommend is reopening your proposal. So if you're on your invoice, you would go to your link doc button, open up your proposal. And again, since it's been invoiced and approved, you would have to reopen it for editing. It's going to give you a message just letting you know it's removing the approval. So you either have to reshare it for approval or approve on their behalf, just depending on however you want to do it. Okay, so at that point, now it's been invoiced. So what you could do is you could technically delete the invoice and make the changes here, which would make this editable, or you can leave it on the invoice. Honestly, it's completely up to you as far as how you want to do it. But let's say you didn't want to open up the proposal and you strictly wanted to do it on the invoice. You would go to the invoice, click on your edit details here, and just tailor it to, however you need to edit it. I know you mentioned specifically the deposit. Okay, so with the payments, and we'll give an example. Once they've been paid, so let's say they paid me cash this much money, it's not going to let you edit it. Now, if you click on the payment name, it's going to show you those details. So you wouldn't be able to edit this payment specifically. Now, if it's a manually logged payment, technically you can delete it, make your edits, and then relog it. If it's an online payment, meaning the client paid through the system, you would not be able to edit those, unfortunately. So for this example, we'll say that the client paid this one in cash, but their next payment, they want to break down into further payments. So what you could do, again, is click on your edit field. You can change it by fixed amount or percentage. So we'll just do a percentage. So let's say the client wanted to split it up between 10 and 40%. So at that point, you can edit it. Again, log your payment or send it. Now, if your invoice has been issued, which you'd go to actions up here and issuing, you would not be able to make any edits whatsoever on the document. So it's similar to a proposal being approved, but with a proposal being approved, you can reopen it, whereas with an issued invoice, you cannot. So with that, I would recommend not necessarily doing it sparingly, but waiting to like maybe the very end, which you don't technically have to issue the invoice. It will sync to QuickBooks regardless. If you want to completely fine. The purpose of issuing is for accounting. So you'll see that when we pressed it, it's going to give you this pop-up button, just letting you know, notifying you, hey, you're no longer going to be able to edit this. So if this document or if this invoice is like done, if like the project is closing, you're wrapping up, for sure you're not going to make any further changes, you can go ahead and issue it. But if there's a possibility that something may change in the future, I'd recommend waiting till maybe the end or not using the issue feature at all. Again, completely up to you, but we want to give you the option. I hope that answered your question.
Awesome. We have about 4 minutes left, so we need to dive through QuickBooks.
Okay, yeah.
The quickest QuickBooks.
Yeah, so QuickBooks, very straightforward, which I don't have mine set up, but on the QuickBooks, you have two separate sections. You can do it per document, but you can also go to your QuickBooks section. So if we go to our financials tab, go to our QuickBooks dashboard. If you're connected, it's going to be fleshed out, which mine is not, but it walks you through setting it up. But also once you're done, if you need extra help, it gives you the option to schedule with one of our QuickBooks experts, Suman. So yeah, it takes you through it. So since mine isn't built out, we'll look at one of our tutorials, which will show you what to expect. Okay, so as mentioned, there's two separate sections. You can sync from your document. You've got this little symbol. So on our proposal, we've got our QuickBooks symbol here. So it'll be 2 colors. Well, 3 colors technically. It's gray if it just hasn't synced. If it's green, it has successfully synced. If it's red, it has not. In the event that there's an error or something that's causing the sync not to go through, if you were to hover over this and click on the button, it's going to direct you to your dashboard, which would be, after you set it up, of course, would be here. And it's going to give you the details for whatever the issue is. But of course, if you have further questions, you can chat with us and we can reach out to our QuickBooks team. But it's pretty straightforward. Again, when you set up your QuickBooks, it does sync, or excuse me, it walks you through the sync. Of course, you can always reference these as well. And then within your settings, you can choose what you want to move over. So if you want your purchase orders to move over, you can choose that. I believe invoices and proposals would be automatic, but the dashboard is going to show you. So here's what it looks like. Let's see if we can zoom in a bit. Okay. So yeah, this is how your dashboard looks once you're integrated. It's going to list out all of your documents. It'll show you the sync status. We've got details over here. So yeah, if there are any errors or anything within this section, you'll be able to not only see what the details are, but it will also prompt you on how to fix it. Now, if it's something you have to follow up with support for, it will let you know. Otherwise, it'll give you step-by-step on how to fix it on the Houzz Pro side or the QuickBooks side. But I definitely recommend using the QuickBooks integration if you haven't already. Just another way to be engaged with your financials, your profitability, just being on top of everything and your accounting.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Jasmine. This has been super thorough. We've gotten awesome feedback from all of our design friends here. I am going to send out a series of polls to you guys. If you've been here yesterday, you have probably already seen polls, but would love to know, what feature you learned the most about, which of the following features you would like more training on, which feature do you wish you had in house, and what, if anything, would make these academy sessions more useful for you. I've also put a couple of resources into the chat. So if you have any ideas for new features that you want, we recently started a forum on Houzz. And so anytime that you're logged into your Houzz Pro account, you can access that forum. You can use that to connect with other designers, ask questions, share your company wins, etc. Have conversations. And the link that I provided is specifically for sharing feature requests. So if you have an idea of something you want to see in the features, feel free to comment it there. My entire team looks at those feature requests. I commented back to someone today. And so we use those requests to help inform the future decisions that we make for Houzz. So that's really awesome. And then also I added in the release notes. So if you're ever curious about what's new in Houzz, you can check out those release notes. And we also do quarterly webinars covering any of the new feature launches. So definitely stay on the lookout for invitations to those types of events, because it's always helpful. We do quick trainings on new things that have launched. And if you've been around Houzz for a minute, we bring out new features very regularly. Actually, weekly we launch something. So we have lots of stuff going on at all times. So thank you all for being here today. Hopefully you guys have had a second to fill out those polls. As always, if you have any questions or need support, feel free to chat in on the little green icon on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Someone amazing like Jasmine will be there to answer those questions for you. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Amazing job, Jasmine, as always. And we hope you have a great rest of your week and have a fun Halloween to those who celebrate. Thanks, y'all.
Bye-bye.